Hail Mary, come with me. Hail Mary. I don't know all the words, Neely, but I kind of know how it goes a little bit. Yes, yes, your boys are here. We'll be bringing our most handsome faces to you in just a moment. It is the Pregame Show Network. This is the Pregame Show Rewind. We're just letting the people come through. What's up there, Neely? Let the squad get together as we get ready to talk about this past weekend's game. We're going to rewind. We have a lot to rewind. Oh, Neely, can I just say this before we get into it?
You can say whatever you want to say, Tyler. You in control.
I watched the entire game. I did not see you until the very end. It was the closing moments of the game. Coach Prime is walking back to the dressing room. The fans have rushed the field. He's got the security around him. I was like, I know I'm going to see Neely. And there you were. I only saw the back of your head, but I knew by your rig and by your phone. And I think I got a little side shot of that beard. I was like, there he is. So it never fails. Neely on national TV.
The camera loves me. What can I say? The camera loves me like I love you, Tolly Carr, and I love the fans and the audience who check in Mondays live. It's noon Mountain. That means it's 2 p.m. Eastern. It's Tolly and Neely coming at you live. All working, no twerking. Let's get it.
All right, Neely. Let's talk about what it felt like, brother. That was a range of emotions, which is nothing new at all for a Colorado fan. Your confidence level, 2 seconds remaining in the game. Where was your confidence level?
Well, we can go before 2 seconds. Let me set it up for you. When Baylor missed that field goal and could have gone up by 10, I knew then we were going into overtime because I've seen this movie before. I saw it down at Alcorn with Shador to Travis at the back pylon. I saw it in the Celebration Bowl where the game was extended to overtime, didn't win the game. And I know that when you have Shador Sanders at quarterback and you have receivers like Travis, LaJohntay Wester, Will Shepherd, Jimmy Horn Jr., you name it, that if they have even just 1 second on the clock, they can make something happen. You know, it's like if you're a Golden State Warriors fan and they're down by 2 and Steph Curry has the ball. Why would you not believe? You know, you've seen them do it too many times. I've heard people throw around the term miracle. You know, I don't characterize it as a miracle because you've seen it happen too much. Like, this is a belief thing. This is a confidence thing. You know, miracles are once in a lifetime. I've probably seen this show 5 times in 2 years. So I knew when that field goal was missed, when they didn't go up by 10 with about a minute 40 left, that with the ball going back to Shador Sanders, with the timeout, with the arm that he has, with the receivers that he has, that this game was likely going into overtime.
You know, I am most confident in Shador Sanders when the odds are stacked the highest. So just during the course of a game, if the team punts the ball and it rolls down to the 2-yard line, I'm like, all right, there's a 98-yard drive coming up. Like, I feel that level of confidence. I have to admit, though, Neely, when they drop the ball and that sure touchdown does not happen, I just thought, like, okay.
But Tolly, okay. I invite you and the fans to go back and look at it. Will Shepherd was my pregame offensive player of the game. I really expected him to have a big game. But I really think if Will Shepherd caught that ball, we lose the game. He was not going to land in the end zone. He was going to be down on about the 2. Of course, they stopped the clock to move the chains. That would have given us maybe 1 second to try to get a play into the end zone. And the way we had been managing the clock before that, I'm not confident we would have scored. So one of the things I love about even the totality of the game, every moment of it from kickoff to the end, everything that went wrong actually helped us win in the end, because had some of those things gone right, we wouldn't have been in that position.
Wow. That's a good point. You know, if he doesn't go in, that is it. Neely, talk about that last play and the way that it was drawn up and everything that happened with Travis Hunter as a decoy and Webster just up there as the man, and he delivered.
Well, I don't think that any of the receivers who went streaking down the field were necessarily decoys. You were going to go to the one who had, the one-on-one coverage. And what happened? Shout out to Baylor in their defensive scheme. Shador is right-handed. They loaded up the defensive line to his right hand, so he had no choice but to roll to his left. They did send too many players toward Travis on the right side of the field, and that left LeJohntay Wester directly in front of Shador as he rolled to the left, a straight shot in single coverage. By the time the ball got there, you had other Baylor defenders in the picture, but as the play developed, he was in man coverage the whole way. And shout out to Shador and the work he does with select QB and his coach Darryl. I mean, he got his shoulders around, got his hips around, and right before getting hit, was able to throw just a frozen rope right into the end zone. And Wester broke over for it and laid down and caught it. Just a phenomenal play. The defense from a D line standpoint did what they needed to do by forcing a right hand guy to his left. But little they know, that's like throwing Bro Rabbit in the briar patch. That's where he wanted to be. And the ball went right to Wester, and now we're going to overtime.
The accuracy of that ball, Neely. Yeah. That's not by accident, and it had to be. It had to land inside of a space probably smaller than a pizza box, or there's no completion there.
I told that man, you got me hungry. Pizza box.
I'm hangry too, by the way.
That is about the right size of it. But I tell anybody, if you watch Shador pregame in his warm-ups, he works on that a lot. He'll have a QB coach or someone come at him, make him roll to the left. He completes the pass downfield. The other thing you'll see when you look at that clip is he's not looking to his right at who's coming at him. His eyes are downfield the whole time, watching the end zone, seeing which one of these receivers were going to break open. Baylor was trying to put him in a position where he would have to throw across the field a very long pass because they overplayed Travis thinking he was getting the ball. And so the coverage was that way. And it clearly would have been batted down if not intercepted. But he went straight. I mean, it was a straight shot from where he was standing. And I saw when his shoulders got square and hips got square that I knew the ball was going to the end zone. And then when it's man-on-man coverage like that, one-on-one coverage, you got a 50-50 chance. You got LeJohntay Wester back there. That goes to about a 70% chance. And then the way the coverage broke down in the end zone because he came back to the ball, it was you saw it all. It was like it was in slow motion, standing there on the side, like man, he's gonna catch this. Like we're going into overtime.
And shout out to Wester. I misspoke and said Webster. Webster is a little guy from a '80s sitcom show. Neely, I'm hangry like you. I put off getting something to eat before the show, and I tried to drink a bunch of soda to fill myself up, and I think that had the opposite effect. But anyway, back to the game. The rain. You could tell it was raining on some of the tight shots, but like on the the high 50 cam, you really couldn't tell exactly how wet it was again until they got some of those close-ups. That in my mind made it seem even more difficult. The precision passes, the clutch catches, if you will, on a wet field. That makes it even more outstanding.
Yeah, it was a pretty consistent rain for a couple of quarters. When it did rain, it was raining, but it was never like a thunderstorm or just a downpour. It was just a consistent, heavy drizzle. And there's no way that doesn't impact the play. It impacts the surface, impacts the hands of the receivers, the ball, the hands of the quarterback. And so when you look at the nuances of the game, some of the drops earlier, and again, I say, Tolly, some of the things that went wrong, helped it go right. I'm one of those guys that, knowing Western's receiving core, that those misses or drops he had early in the game, were something that added that determination to him that I bet I don't drop this one. And so the weather, had an impact, but it never ran the crowd off. When it started to drizzle and rain, the crowd never left. They pulled out the ponchos. They stayed loud. They stayed engaged. No one left their seat. Now, at a minute 40, he hits that field goal, you're probably going to have people leaving because that's now a 10-point game. But when that field goal was missed, I
Oh,
think everybody in Folsom, dressed in white, was like, all right, we know who we got on this team. We got a shot at this.
did the crowd? Did you feel like the crowd got to the? Because that was like a shame. I mean, that thing just. It took a. I don't remember if it was left or right, but it was badly missed.
Yeah, I'm just gonna chalk it up to nerves. They have one of the best collegiate field goal kickers, in the nation as far as percentage and what he's done in college. But even the best missed one, and he just missed one at the worst time for them and the best time for us because it, like you said, Tolly, it never was going in. It never had a chance. It started to the right and stayed there the whole way. And it's like, all right, well, we get the ball and we got time, so let's do it. And even in that process, everything we did to try to lose the game still worked in our favor. When Wester catches an earlier pass, he's celebrating the completion instead of getting back, to get set. And we probably went from a minute 40 to a minute 10 before we ran the next play. And so he's like, all right, and so that all that led to having this final opportunity with only 2 seconds left. But like I said, as long as it's 1 second, you can snap the ball. And if you can snap the ball and get it to one of these receivers, think how many times Jimmy Horn Jr. has caught a pass and just run for 70 yards and scored with it. Like you don't have to have 10 seconds on the clock for these guys to score. You just need to be able to snap the ball.
What was that explosion like inside Folsom Field when Wester catches that ball and everybody realizes it's a touchdown and you're going to overtime as soon as Mata don't miss gets the extra point?
Well, that's what I was about to say. I think it was an explosion for the opportunity, but it was a reserved explosion from the coaches and the team because well, we're still down one. And even though Mata don't miss, like we got to officially send this to overtime. So, everybody was like, hey, don't rush the field, calm down. We still got something to do. And what I loved about Mata's presence is even when Baylor called a timeout, he's standing there, to the crowd, like, bring the noise. I don't care. I'm not missing this. And he hit it right down in the middle. And so now the way that our defense had been playing all night, or even for that matter, all season, that when you go out there for the coin toss, that all we got to do is keep them out, get in ourselves, whichever way it was going to go, and we were going to win this ball game.
All right, got a lot to talk about, but let's acknowledge working on 400 in the chat right now. What's up, everybody? I'm going to scroll back to the top, and Louisiana Glenn always rocking with us. Janetta Fox, got some folks from Kansas City in there as well. Gerardo Ramos says, Unc, you're on national TV and Times Square. Man, you got your own NIL deal, Neely.
It's just my belly that's on Times Square. Shadur's kind of blocking me, but people that know me know it's me.
Oh, my God. All right, so look, we love for you to check in. We'll read your comments if you got something good to say. LT is acknowledging the Blazer. Thank you. Neely will take pot shots before the episode here is over. We got Dallas, Texas, Detroit, Michigan in the house. You guys keep it coming. All right, Neely.
Yeah.
We talk about the chat. A couple of weeks ago, I kept looking out of the side of my eye. Everybody was talking about Omarion Miller. And they were like, what's happening with him? He's cleaning his social media. He's out of here. He's gone. And I didn't acknowledge it for a couple of reasons. Because one, I didn't know, and I wasn't just going to throw that out there. Two, I think it's kind of, at my age, about to be 50 in a week, it's just kind of creepy to be on young people's social media trying to figure out their life, knowing that whatever people might post. These are emotional people. The frontal cortex still, they might.
Frontal lobe is not fully developed.
Yeah. I mean, they're men, they're fast, they're strong, but, I'm not going to go through their social media and try to report it as news or throw it out there as conjecture. But I say all that to say, he looked pretty happy and he looked pretty good on Saturday night.
I agree. And when you talk about, you remember that breakout game he had last year as a true freshman that even Michael Irvin came up to him saying, man, you're the man. And so it's been a long time since you heard his name called or had a game like that. But for this to be what I think was his first reception of the year, to have the wherewithal to not only catch the ball, but realize I was not tackled, my knee didn't go down, my elbow didn't go down, to fight through that, then go up the sideline stiff armor guy and for a score, just shows the depth and the talent of this receiver room. And one thing that Coach Jason Phillips pours into them, as well as Coach Prime, is that everybody's going to have a day. Like, everybody's going to eat. And so you just got to stay locked in and ready, because you never know when your moment is going to come. But before this season is over, each one of these receivers are going to be the quote unquote reason that we won a game. And shout out to Old Miller for staying engaged, regardless of what people saying on social media about he's leaving or unhappy or those kind of talks. And I'll say this, Tolly, when you go back to, I don't care if it's Nebraska, Colorado State, or North Dakota State, some of the key blocks that he's made while he's out there as receiver have helped us win games as well. So he's been performing not just with his hands against Baylor, but in the other skill sets in the wide receiver room as well. So all is well with O. Miller. Shout out to Omari.
Coach Prime even acknowledged that to a certain degree. He said, look, he hasn't seen a lot of action in terms of catches. And he said, hey, when they called this number, he kind of said something like this to the effect of, hey, I'm glad he wasn't over there asleep on the bench. Talk about Neely. God, Neely, that's not authentic. We don't have conversations like that. That's what you say to strangers when you say, hey, talk about. Neely, let me keep it real. I'm sorry. I told you I'm hangry today, a little off. Neely, the kid knows he has star potential. And the reps aren't coming like maybe he wants them to, maybe his fans, family, I don't know. But he gets out there and he performs when it's time. That says a lot about the kid's mental strength to be able to hang in there, and when it's time to get out there and deliver like he's been out there the whole time.
I totally agree with that. There are a lot of players, even that play on Sundays and Monday nights, who pout when they don't get the ball. And when you tell them, hey, it's your time, well, they don't want it right now because they hadn't been getting it when they wanted it. So how dare you try to give it to me when you want to give it to me? I ain't going.
Ask Antonio Pierce. I didn't watch the game, but last night he said some players made some business decisions, so we're going to have to make some business decisions. And that's at the NFL level. This is a college kid.
Yeah, it absolutely happens. And so I think one thing you'll see, though, at practice is that these guys get reps. These guys know the scheme. These guys know that any minute that when something is collapsed to one side of the defense, or offense, I should say, by the defense, that the ball could be coming their way. So they all run their routes as if they're getting the ball, because they know at practice any second I'm getting the ball. I think structurally people think that everything is, just focused on Travis. But even the stats don't bear that out when you look at the way Shedeur Sanders has moved around this ball this season. So Omarion knew his moment was coming. He stayed locked in practice and was clearly locked in the game. And again, Tyler, what I loved about it, you know what? Now I just thought about it. Tyler, you're wrong. I was on twice because I was standing there when he caught the ball and ran by. I even saw that clip. I saw myself in that.
Oh.
Nevertheless, here's a situation where a guy could have just said, I'm down. He got me, But he realized, having the football IQ, man, I didn't feel my elbow or my knee touch. Damn this, I'm gone. And as the defenders tried to chase him down the sideline, he walked it like a tightrope, never stepped out. They tried to push him out, stiff arm one. Next thing you know, he's in the end zone. And little did you know then how much that play would have an impact on the totality of the game. So again, I say, everything that went right and everything that went wrong helped us win that game.
Play to the whistle. The worst thing they can say is bring it back. That's the worst they could say. All right, you are watching the Pregame Show Network. This is the Pregame Show Rewind. I'm Tolly Carr in Atlanta. That's Uncle Neely with the Goonsville hat. He's in Boulder this morning, of course, afternoon, depending on if you're East Coast or Mountain Time. Got to give a shout out to Reverend B.J. Nelson. He dropped $5 in the Super Chat just to let us know that here's what he had to say, Neely. Sacramento is here. Hey, BBL, Tolly, Neely, get them likes up, y'all. So you are spreading the BBL propaganda here, Neely.
Hey, man, BBL, Tolly. Again, I saw you post the other day. You ran like 20 miles. Just hit 500 watching live. If you're in watching live, shout out to you. We appreciate you. While you're here, go hit that little thing that says thumb up, because that helps the algorithm promote it to other folks. So if you like it, let's make some other people love it. 500, thank y'all for watching us live and direct.
This morning, taking my daughter to school, me and my daughter have this agreement. In the morning, She can listen to whatever radio station music she wants to listen to. In the afternoon, I get to listen to what I want to listen to. I'm going to take a picture and show you how miserable she is on the ride home when I'm listening to my music. But on the way,
she don't like Hall and Oates.
No. My other daughter, different story. She rolls with dad, but no. Yacht Rock is not on Kendall's list. But I heard the song because I usually turn it when it comes on. But I heard the BBL Drizzy that you. It's the We Go Together song, right?
So now you get it.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it, but I hadn't heard it, so I got your cadence and everything exactly how you say it. I still hate the song, but nevertheless, I could appreciate it when I heard it. We got Tallahassee in there. Hey, Eric,
Somebody
what's up?
I look like I got makeup on. I don't have makeup on.
No. Somebody said they were up to.
That's the new Zoom camera.
Yeah, it's that soft filter there. Let's see. Somebody was overseas, said they stayed up to 5 a.m. I forgot where that was, but yeah, people were up all night, all morning watching this game, depending on where you were. All right, let's talk about the run game, Neely. It looked as good as I have ever seen it look, unless I'm misremembering something.
No, I don't think you're misremembering at all. The running game is here now. A lot of folks I know out there in the chat have been begging for it for weeks, and I think the past couple weeks you've seen it. You've seen it with Isaiah. You've seen it with, of course, Micah getting their carries up. Dallin Hayden should be back soon, if not UCF, certainly after the bye week. I think there's been a commitment to run from Pat Shurmur, and I think that we have the backs that make it happen. You know, had a Russian score, so I look for that running game to travel, you know, through this Big 12 conference, because we got some backs that don't mind putting their foot in the ground and lowering their shoulders and getting after it. And so, you know, anytime that you can get 50 to 100 yards a game on the ground, complementing this high-powered offense in the air, because let's keep it 100, man. It's just like Coach Carl Reed says on the big boys. In coaching, you want to get the ball to your best three players, your most prolific players, and that's going to be Shedeur Sanders, that's going to be Travis Hunter, and that's going to be one of the other receivers depending on situations. So this is going to be a passing offense. This is going to be a move the ball through the air offense, but there's nothing like being able to control a lead, milk the clock with a run game. We owned Baylor in time of possession. We did much better than they did in first down, third down conversions, third down to first down conversions. What we failed miserably at, and I can't believe the chat ain't on us about not talking about that yet, is the special teams. And when you look at their time of possession, and even when they were up in the score, it's because we allowed them to score so fast. You got a guy takes a kickoff all the way back untouched. We have Mate who puts a punt inside the 10-yard line, and we let a guy get touched 5 or 6 times and gets them in the field goal range. So kind of gift wrap them 10 points just from special teams alone. That's something I didn't expect or see coming, but I know it's something we can fix going into conference play.
In the chat, tell me if you were like me. Colorado scores, right? I go downstairs, grab a glass of water. I might have, I don't know, said something to my children real quick. I felt like I had a good 2 minutes, you know, to get back and I wouldn't miss anything. I walk into the room, and I just see Colorado fans looking dejected on the screen. I'm like, what happened? And they're like, he went 110 yards untouched. I was like, what? Neely, did they talk about that at practice on Sunday?
I did not go to practice on Sunday, but I tell you what, it was discussed in the locker room Saturday night, and I know it's going to be worked on every day this week. Monday is the quote-unquote off day for practice. That's just film and study and prep and treatment. But you better believe Tuesday through Friday, yes, including even Friday when we're in Florida, there'll be a practice. Special teams will be addressed, has to be cleaned up. You know, we lost Jace Feely for the season. Jay Feely, I'm sorry, for the season. And I had it right the first time. Jace, we lost him for the season, torn ACL. You know, was trying to make a football play. Shout out to him. Spoke with him in the locker room after it happened, and as well as text message on Sunday. His spirits are high, and he's acknowledging that God has got him, so he's not worried about it. But it's a next man up opportunity. When you're facing teams that have what we have, like a Jimmy Horn Jr., you just can't kick it to them. You have to kick that ball into the end zone so they don't get a return. We failed to do that, and they got 7 points.
I want to acknowledge Charlie because I think I saw what I saw. If I didn't, people will correct me. There was that one. It was that one kickoff where they returned, or it might have been a punt or a kickoff. They returned it back down to about. It was the kickoff. Okay, it's the kickoff. Maybe it's a punt. Anyway, on the return.
If Charlie was out there, it was a punt.
Okay, all right. So it was a punt. All right, so they run down, and they have the guy by the ankles, and he breaks through, and he breaks another tackle, and he's down to about the 30-yard line at this point. And Charlie comes over across the field, across my screen, and makes the tackle that might have saved it from being a touchdown. And I think on that possession, they just ended up with a field goal. But man, Charlie busted his ass getting across that field to make that tackle. And I think it was Charlie. I felt like I was looking at Charlie. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that was a heck of a tackle. That it's that effort, Neely, that if you just kind of look up, you're like, man, that dude's going to score. But to hang in there and to get that tackle and to hold that to a field goal and that possession not be a touchdown, all those points counted.
Made a difference in the game. Like, you didn't know it then, but it made a difference in the game. And Charlie is known for that, man. He's one of the anchors on special teams, one of the leaders out there, making sure the formation is right, and particularly on when we're punting, calling out the coverage of protection to keep mate from getting blocked. And then that's just, it's Charlie Hustle, it's Charlie Hart, it's Charlie Offenball, whatever you want to call him. He makes plays because he's a playmaker. And when you talk about making plays, that ultimately helped the result in the game, you can't forget what Cameron Silman Craig did all night. The safety who transferred along with others from Jackson State, led the team in tackles, I think, with 13. And some of the plays that he was out there making, you think about that play in overtime where the quarterback is about to score on another QB run, and you could have just easily said, okay, well, he's in. We'll just go to second overtime. We've been down this road before, no issue. And that was the play before Travis calls the fumble. He doesn't make that play. Travis doesn't cause the fumble. You're going in the second overtime. So Cameron Silman Craig, man, was my defensive player of the day because he was all over that field. And he's one of those guys from the safety position where when he leads in tackles, it's not because he's tackling guys who've caught a 30-yard pass or tackling guys who've run past the linebackers. He's going up to the line of scrimmage and making hits and getting tackles for losses. So just so excited about what he has brought in his game, this year, and really looking forward to what he's going to do in the NFL next year, because I believe he's going to play on Sundays.
Yeah, and you talked about Neely. You talked about him stepping up when Shiloh went down. When I asked you who was going to step up, that was the first name that you brought up.
Yeah, because I've seen him do it. I've seen him do it at Jackson State. I've seen him do it when he didn't get to play in that TCU game last year, and when he got the opportunity in Nebraska, he gets an interception. Tolly, you remember back in the SWAC days when he was snubbed for a SWAC award. The worst mistake they could have done is not to acknowledge him, because he went off that next year and proved that he should have been one of those mentioned. He is an anchor on the team. He's a leader. Oftentimes Coach Rob Livingston, the defense coordinator, will call on Cam to talk to the team before or after him or instead of him, because they hear his voice and recognize, well, it's hard for us to not listen to him because we know he's doing it. We know he's giving 110%. So when he challenges us, it's not like you're hearing it from a guy, who's half-assing. You're hearing it from a guy who's out here balling. Let's all follow Cam today.
All right, let's talk about that hit that Travis Hunter put on. He said, as I was watching the game, I was thinking to myself, if Colorado's going to win this, they're going to need a huge defensive play from Travis Hunter. I felt like they was just going back and forth trading. I was like, Travis is going to have to do something. I was thinking interception, but he said he knew he was going to have to make a tackle, and he talked about putting in his mouthpiece late and, alluding to the fact that he was about to get busy on that play from a physical standpoint. Was that precision placement of that helmet on the football? Did he just luck up with it, or is the guy's IQ so smart that he knew, I'm going to knock this football out right now?
The guy's IQ is that smart. The guy's work ethic is that smart by putting on 17 pounds of muscle this offseason. And his pre snap analysis is smart. When you look at him changing places with a guy that plays safety, and so that he could be the one over there, it just shows, the football IQ about knowing where the ball is going. And if somebody's going to make a play, I'm going to make it. And he knew how to dive in, protecting himself from harm, but also making sure I'm dislodging this ball, and then Preston Hodge with the wherewithal to cover it up back there behind him. This is just who Travis Hunter is. He is absolutely, unequivocally the best player in college football. I have said all along that I think the Heisman Trophy oftentimes get it wrong because instead of giving the player who is the best player in college football the award, they also want to make sure you're a winning team and a bowl team and that kind of thing. I think Travis is going to be right along there with with Paul Hornung when he run it. That it doesn't matter what the team record is going to be. If he keeps doing what he's doing, which he will, he is clearly, regardless of team record or team accomplishments, he is the best individual player in college football in 2024.
I don't, it would be one thing, Neely, if he dabbled on offense, like if he had 4 catches for 37 yards and he was that would be cute. It would be impressive. But Neely, you can pencil him in for 100 yards and a game-changing defensive play every game.
Yeah, that's now 5 games with 100 yards. And he's going to make a play on defense. He's going to get a pick or a pass breakup or a major tackle. And he talked about in the post-game press conference that he did jointly with Coach Prime that's something he took personal as people saying, well, yeah, he can do this, he can do that, but he can't tackle. So he said in the offseason, he wanted to work on his strength, work on his tackling, and show people this year that he can hit. One of the ones I loved is when he picked the guy up off the ground and the ref was blowing the whistle, and so he had the wherewithal to not throw him down and get a penalty. But he wanted that player and Baylor's bench to know, you saw I picked him up now. I got that.
For sure. All right, we got a paid super chat comment we're going to get to in just a second. But let me ask you this before we move on to taking a look ahead here on the Rewind, because we can do that because it's our show. We can do what we want. 3-1 in 2024. Do you feel more confident? Do you feel better about the 3-1 this year than what were we? Colorado was 3-1 after the Oregon game last year, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel better?
I do feel more confident, and I'll tell you why. I feel more confident because of the Nebraska game. Stop. What the hell is Neely talking about? Y'all lost that game. Well, that's what I love about it. To see how this team has bounced back from adversity. When adversity hit us in the mouth last year, the wheels started to come off. There was not really a lot of team chemistry, a lot of team trust. One of the things that Coach Prime focused on this offseason, and it was something as simple as no cell phones on the tables at the dining room, get to know each other, talk to each other. The better we get to know each other, the better we're going to play together and play for each other. And you can see the impact of that going across the summer into the fall camp, that this was a much more cohesive team than we had last year, without even checking the boxes on if it's a more talented team or not. And so what I was looking forward to is when that adversity comes, what we're going to do. We go up there to Nebraska, we get it handed to us, and since that moment, we have become closer together and stronger. And so I think that this team, at this point in the schedule, going into conference play, is much better suited than we were last year.
All right, let's get to some of these comments. I don't want you out there in America to feel like we are overlooking you. First, let's go to Gerardo Ramos. I hope I pronounced that right, sir. But you put $4.99 down, and it says, what kind of advantage does CU have over UCF due to the tougher schedule so far? Neely, you see some advantages there.
Man, I'm going to go with a clear-cut advantage, and that's our offensive quarterback and our receiver room. I just firmly believe that we have one of the best receiver rooms in the nation. I would say top 3. Some people say top 5. And I clearly believe that we have the top quarterback in the nation, certainly in the top 3. And I think that poses a problem for any secondary that we'll be facing, as long as the offensive line can continue to gel and get better week by week. Had some sacks this game that were, quote unquote, uncharacteristic of this unit, but looked like last unit. But when you look at when Justin Mayer, for instance, went back in at the other guard position, things got cleaned up and Shadur got time. And you look what happened when he had time and got the ball to Western and was able to pull the comeback off. So when you ask me, about going into whether it's UCF or the Big 12 bulk of the schedule to come, you give me Shadur Sanders, you give me Travis Hunter in that receiving room. I like our odds.
All right, we got another question here. Neely, has wrapping up been a point of emphasis? Seems like the secondary and special teams are dialed in on hitting, but wrapping up has been a concern. You seeing any of that?
I know it was a concern, for instance, coming off of that Nebraska game, and that's why Coach Prime installed and practiced a live session of inside run, and that we're going to do full tackling, for this practice. You always are working on technique and sharpening those things up. I think special teams this past week was, man, just uncharacteristic. We haven't played a game like that in Coach Prime's 2 seasons here at Colorado, and it's one of those things that just has to be fixed and addressed, where people got to pay attention to detail and make sure that the tackle is being made all the way to the ground. But it happens on both sides of the ball. You look at Omari Miller; he wasn't tackled all the way fully, and we scored off of it. So it's a nuance of college football that can happen, but you want it to happen less and less. What I was most pleased with, outside of the victory, Tolly, and the way we won and the fashion we won, is the penalty cleanups. We left even a dominant performance of double-digit penalties. I think we had 14 in all, and 2 were declined, so 12 penalties. The first half, we had 2, and one of those came right before halftime. We'd only had 1 penalty for 10 yards with about a minute left in the first half. You finished the game with only 6 penalties. And when you look back at last year, I know the sacks were enormous, but it was really the penalties that cost us those 5 games by 1 score or less, not just the sack. So if this team can play disciplined football, pre-snap and post-snap, and if we continue to have the defense that we're having, where we're pitching shutouts for quarters or halves, and then augmented with that offense, I like us in the Big 12. I like where we are, and I like what we're going to face.
All right, looking through some more of the comments there. Let's talk about the other side of the secondary. You got DJ over there. Those guys are going to get a lot of action because people are not going to try Travis too much, you would think.
Yeah, but Tyler, you saw that, man. DJ McKinney almost had one. I know on TV, like you said earlier, people may have missed it. There was a consistent rain that you really couldn't see on TV. DJ McKinney almost has an interception that slides through his hands. Preston Hodge almost has one. He had one in Nebraska. I would tell people this, as far as our secondary goes, the depth and the talent that we have there, which is why you see so much movement, and why you see that even with Shiloh out, they're still performing high. Because you have a DJ McKinney, you have a starter Kottmeyer, you have a Preston Hodge back there, and you got a Cameron Silman Craig who's anchoring all and communicating. Defense will only get better when Shiloh gets back. So if you're trying to throw the ball away from Travis, which I understand why offensive coordinator or quarterback would do that, good luck picking on the other guys because they're going to pick you off too.
All right, some people, a little side conversation going on with the offensive line. Neely, there was one stretch, I think, out of 5 consecutive plays, like 4 of them were sacks late in the game, and then they got it together when it counted the most. You touched on this a few minutes ago, but what type of rotation do you think we might see? They're asking in the chat along that offensive line.
I think it's going to continue to rotate and even rotate through games and situations. Coach Phil Lodeholt knows what he's looking for and knows what it's supposed to look like, and he sees moments of it, but he also sees when there's a matchup problem. I got the depth here and the talent, and having worked out people over the summer in varying positions, like a Justin Mayer was able to go back in the game. Here's a guy who, quote unquote, was pulled as a starter and then called upon and needed and went right back in and did his thing and really helped shore up the offensive line for the rest of the game. These guys are talented. They're capable. They put the work in this summer. You just have to find that right 5 for the particular matchup that can play together. And sometimes that takes getting in the game and getting game reps and figuring it out. And so adjustments will be made. But I think you're going to continue to see a shuffling of that line, even situationally, because they have built it all the way from left to right that guys can go in and play multiple positions.
Shador even talked about his running backs late in the game. He said, "Look, guys, I'm going anybody back here to block for me. I need everything that you have. This is crunch time." And we've seen some plays. Look, Neely, if the running back misses his block, half of the average fans are just going to blame the O-line on it, right? Because they're going to say, all right, quarterback got sacked, O-line didn't do their job. If you're back there, man, you no room for error.
And sometimes the block is just a chip. It's not a fully engaged block. You know, you got a back in the backfield, the ball is snapped, and before he rolls out, that's that Mississippi coming out. He is supposed to chip that rusher on his way out to his route, and he missed him, and next thing you know, it's a batted ball or a sack or incompletion because the quarterback can't see. But someone's going to blame the left tackle or the left guard for that when it was the running back's missed assignment. You know, I'll say again, Tolly, with the prolific talent on this team being in the hands of the quarterback and that elite receiver core, we're going to be a passing team. I understand the call for balance and I understand running the ball, preserving the clock. But I say all that to say this: your running backs and your tight ends, whereas they have a job in this offense, their primary job is going to be protection. And then after protection box is checked, then you're going to see them go out for passes and different schemes. You even saw a couple of jumbo packages, 2 tight ends. I think there were 2 tight ends out there when Micah got the running touchdown. So this offense has the capability of being diverse schematically and doing what's needed, but protecting QB1, who happens to wear number 2, is everybody's main priority.
All right, a win against UCF, and Neely, you're sitting at 4-1. The bad thing about last year was you got 3 in a row, and then there's that middle part of the season, it just all went downhill. You and I can look forward. We can predict things. Some of our brethren frown upon such. But 4-1, if that happens, it still feels so early in the season, and that would feel so good, Neely.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. And what's going to happen in the hater silo is they're going to continue to move the goalpost. Every time we win a game, oh, you weren't playing nobody. Then we lose a game. You know, the team was the best thing in the world. You saw that happen with Baylor. The first half of this game or throughout the game, you know, Baylor was the best thing since sliced bread. When we win, you know, Baylor wasn't all that no way. I would tell you this though, Tolly, when the schedule dropped, and I understand the goal is to go 1-0 every week, but when the schedule dropped this spring, I've said all spring and all summer long, the 2 games that I had circled on the schedule were Baylor and UCF. And the reason why is that they were the opening games for the Big 12 Conference, 1 at home, 1 on the road. They are programs who have had a quote-unquote recent historic success, and they were going to be great measuring sticks for what Coach Prime has built here so far, and is the arrow truly pointing up in this building process. You know, we played a Utah last year. They're later in the schedule. You had played Nebraska last year and beat them, lost to them early in the schedule this year. And so I looked at these 2 games, the one we just played and the next one, as really the barometer and the thermometer of where this program is headed. And again, I you know, if the defense is known in football to travel, will this offense travel as well? We've got to get hydrated up starting yesterday because you're going, you know, back into a humid climate to play some football. It's going to be an afternoon game, you know, in Florida, and that's going to be, you know, a nice 65 degrees at night in Boulder. You know, you're going back down there in the swamp, like and where the humidity is through the roof. You got to have your body ready to play in that. So I've always had these 2 games circled as the games that are going to tell us a lot about ourselves.
Yeah, that's musty underarm weather right there, Neely. And the Baylor secondary was regarded. I'm listening to the broadcast as the top secondary or the top pass defense in the country is what I remember hearing, and that was a good chess match. Like there were times where, you know, seeing the Colorado offense trying to dial something up, Shador trying to deliver a ball, they gave up some, but they made it hard. That was a great, you know, kind of schematic battle there between those 2 sides.
It was, and you know, and they came in here only allowing I think about 78 yards in passing offense in their previous games. And I don't know if you guys out there follow horse racing, but you got a dry track and a wet track, and we had a wet track last night, and so that can kind of skew things. But there is no way that Shador Sanders and his offense were not going to go over 100 yards. So when you saw that Baylor's secondary was holding people to less than 80, you knew that wouldn't hold up here. And as time went on, speed just kills. And when you keep taking guys out on routes, and then you're up in this altitude, at some point something's going to give, and Shador's going to find the guy, and that guy's going to, be able to make something happen with your yards after catch. So, but again, Tolly, once we do it to their secondary, then everybody says their secondary ain't worth nothing. But before the game, the secondary was one of the tops in the country. I've seen this time and time again, as you have. Whenever Deion Sanders accomplishes something, the goalpost moves back further.
The hater silo, it's been more quiet this week than before, because there's not a lot you can say. Like, you were entertained. They won. They showed composure, high football IQ, good decision making. They ran the ball, overcame. I mean, you just run down the list, and it's like there's not much that you can say. Oh yeah, but unless you're just like really grabbing from straws from last week's performance.
And that's why, I started the show with this wasn't a miracle. We've seen it before. And I understand market and market space, and, that HBCUs still don't get a lot of shine on TV, and, not the first thing covered on ESPN. But Tolly, just like Christopher Columbus claimed to discover America, you can't claim now to have discovered that Shador and Travis are damn good. Like, we have seen this before. We know what they're capable of. We've seen it for seasons, upon seasons, that these guys are more than capable of doing what you saw. No one calls it a miracle when Aaron Rodgers did it, or Tom Brady did it, or Peyton Manning did it. And the reason it wasn't because you had seen it before. And I don't characterize Saturday night as a miracle. I think it's going to be like Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's going to be, the 21st of September that you remember. But it wasn't a miracle. You're going to see it again. But because these guys put the work in on the summer, they have chemistry together like no other, and they have the talent, and they don't rest on the talent. They put the work in, just like the aforementioned quarterbacks I named. It ain't a miracle. It's called work.
You can hit a game-winning shot in basketball, and not to say that that's easy, but you see it done multiple times. You're like, okay, that's cool. Neely, I don't know. Tell me if I'm just blowing hot air here. There's not a bunch of quarterbacks out there that you can go down the list and say, oh yeah, there was a Hail Mary there, and then there was a Hail Mary there, and then there was this other comeback in the final seconds. Like, it is, not weekly, but it ain't just a one-time thing with Shador.
No, it's been at least twice a season in the 4 years that he's been in college. That's why I know it ain't a miracle. It's work. If I go out there with 2 seconds left and Steph Curry is out of the game and I hit a three to win, that's a damn miracle. When he does it, it's because that's what he does. He works on it. He practices that. He's built for that moment. It's the same thing with Shador. It's not like BBL Tolly was throwing the ball to Chuck Bishop in the end zone. That would be a miracle. This was Shador Sanders to LaJohntay Wester. They spent the summer together, whether it was in Texas and Houston or Coach Prime's place practicing. They had summer session 1 and 2 here. They have worked on this chemistry. Shador was actively in the portal time recruiting him here because he knew what he brought to the table. And that's the result you get. You get a pass to the end zone to get you into overtime because everything you've worked on to that point got you there. It ain't luck. It's preparation and work meets opportunity.
Okay, people, this is the moment in the show where I say something sarcastic and I'm facetious. I'm not hating. I don't literally mean what I'm about to say. Welcome to 2024. That's not bad for a quarterback that quit on his team a couple of weeks ago and went to the locker room early.
No, it ain't, man. Matter of fact, to all quarterbacks out there, if that's what quitting on your team gets you, quit on your team. You'll come back and throw a Hail Mary.
If you want to win next week, just go to the locker room early.
I'm glad you prefaced that, Tolly, because every time you play devil's advocate or journalist and try to, let me take up this side of it, they start hitting you in your blazer in the chat. So, You did a great job of setting the stage. And hey, man, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Hey, but shout out Tolly up to 7:35 watching live, man. That's 7:35. Appreciate you being here. Noon Mountain Time, 2 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. TNT, Tolly and Neely together live. Let's rock out.
Yes,
hey, and
sir.
while you're there, man,
Yeah.
hit that little thumb thing, that little, hit that like button.
All right, so 3-1. Is the Denver Post? Are they still? What was the
Oh
prediction?
no, they still hate.
Okay. What was the prediction? It was going to be how many wins?
Oh, I don't even remember because there was so much hate. I just, I lined the bottom of my bird cage with it. Don't even have a bird.
Just
But
checking.
as Coach Prime would say, after a win, that is one step closer to getting Miss Peggy to a bowl game. When you are rebuilding a program, you have to remember that this team was 1-11. Then you take that to 4 wins last year, 4-8. The goal this year, 6 wins and Miss Peggy a bowl game. And along that path, because you're in the Big 12 now, and the Big 12 is not made up of divisions at this time, you want to get into those 1 or 2 stop slots in the Big 12 championship. And if you can win the Big 12 championship in Dallas, Texas on December 7th, you have an automatic slot in the college playoffs. All of that is still in front of us.
I did notice receiving votes this week in the coaches poll. I think two votes maybe, but it's little momentum, little momentum.
Yeah, we were certainly. It's not something you put a lot of stock into because you still got so much football left. But we win that Nebraska game, we would certainly already be ranked in the top 25. Just like they are. By the way, they lost the other night.
They fell out. Yeah, they fell out after.
Shout out to Nebraska. They went into the game in the top 25. Last year, beating TCU and getting those subsequent wins, we went anywhere from 25 to 20. I think made as high as at 17 or 16 before the wheels came off. So learning from that, you're not putting a lot of stock in where you are right now. You just want to make sure you finish high enough in that Big 12 by going 1-0 a week. If I could do the coach talk. That you're in that conference championship game, because the reality for the CFP this year, Tolly, you're an old school football guy. The days of losing a game in your season being over are over. You're going to have teams in that top 12 who have 2 or even 3 losses because they were still able to win their conference championship.
Yeah, absolutely, and I like it. I hated it when you're in October and a good team is just done because they lost the game. Gerardo is back in the super chat. Neely, his budget has been cut. And I'll always assume that I get the gender right. Let's just pretend that Gerardo is a man, and his wife has found out that he's been dropping money in the super chat. So he went from $4.99 to $1.99. All right, we can't keep saying your name for $1.99 here, but we'll give you this one. Making progress with the 2025 recruits. Neely, I don't know how hot you stay on the recruits, but I would imagine homecoming weekend, there was a lot of prospective student athletes, and they had the time of their lives.
They did. What a great game to witness and be a part of. They stayed out there in the rain just like the fans did. Coach Prime picked up a couple of commits right there on the sideline as they hugged them and embraced them and told them what they would be announcing soon. Some of those announcements have dropped today with people from the great state of Florida, Coach Prime's home state, that would have been going to Penn State at the DB position and now announced they're coming to Colorado. So the recruitment process is underway. Coach Corey Phillips heading it up, and Devin Rispress, who came from FAMU, taking care of the high school recruiting. And so, yeah, we for all the folks who were saying out there he's leaving when Shedeur leaves, he damn sure ain't recruiting like it and damn sure ain't coaching like it. So not only taking it 1 week at a time to go 1-0, but loading the barrel for next year.
I am not a troll. Miss Dawn. I am not a troll. Neely, how tough is, again, and I'm a casual football fan. You think of Florida schools and you think, well, if it ain't Miami, if it ain't Florida State, if it ain't Florida, it ain't that good. You kind of have that, big three there, and maybe some others. But UCF is a program that is over time getting better. How tough of a matchup in 2024 is this going to be?
Gonna be a very tough matchup. You're going into their crib. It's called the bounce house. It's called the bounce house for a reason because the place literally be bouncing. They make it a tough place to play. They not only have 45-pound weights like we got, they got a damn good coaching staff and damn good athletes and damn good game planning. And so this is not going to be an easy game by any means. As a matter of fact, I think as we go through the season, these games only get tougher and tougher for us. The outside noise is going to always pick whoever we're playing, to win. But we like our chances here. We like what we have on offense. Love what we have on defense. I don't think the defense, even by me, gets talked about enough, and I talk about it all the time. Is what these guys have been able to do this season, keeping us in games when the offense has started slow, and making sure there's been some 3-and-outs when it's most needed. So UCF is going to be a formidable opponent. I know later in the week we'll do a big boys or another sit down before that game and talk more X's and O's, but this ain't somebody you're looking past just because you're riding high. Tomorrow starts the official scouting report and installs, particularly for this game, because the players have Mondays off, and then you're on the road. It's a short week too, Tolly. The team is going to travel out of here, out of Boulder on Thursday, versus having a home game or a short trip like you've had to Nebraska to Colorado State. So you're literally going across the country. I hear there's weather on the way, to that part of Florida as well. So going to be a tough opponent. Got to be dialed in. But the thing is, man, when you talk about the record, the overall record, I hear you. The team hears you. But with this being conference play, that's what matters. You're 1-0 in conference, and you're trying to go 2-0 in conference.
Neely, I want to go back to the Baylor game on the Hail Mary pass, if you will. Afterwards, Baylor talked about they brought pressure from the wrong side. They said that particular defensive call was called Victory Cigar, I think. And one of the defenders was supposed to rush up and under from the right side, but he came from the left, trying to remember how it was. But the coach was like, when he saw it, he was like, oh, boy, how did that happen? A little bit of providence on that play. I thought that was cool from the standpoint of how things work together in a football game.
And it just shows you, man. And keep in mind, they called a timeout and discussed it. And you still have to execute it. And as I said, I know we may have the audience that has the gray hair like you and I got, Tolly, but Bro Rabbit wants to be thrown in the briar patch. And so when you chase him away that he's been worked on and not have someone coming directly to him, challenging him in his face with arms up, you get a clear-cut path to the end zone, and that's when anything can happen, particularly when you throw into the one-on-one matchup side versus the opposite side of the field where Travis was covered, by 2 or 3 people. And then you didn't have time for anything underneath. Underneath would have been, basically a decoy route because the guy would have to catch it and then run to the end zone. So this ball was going to the end zone regardless, and it went to the one-on-one side, which is the side the defense flushed him to, but they didn't have anyone in front of Shedeur to contest his vision or the pass. The pressure was pretty much coming from Shadeur's right as he went to the left boundary.
Can we talk about the amount of hits that he takes after he releases the ball and fair, clean hits? The defender has committed to getting his hands on them. They're already airborne or they're in that last step and he's releasing it at the last second. So it's not anything that I'm trying to call dirty, but, he takes a lot of hits. And successful, completion and passes, but he pays for it.
He does, and that's why he's in the weight room in the offseason as well. That's why he continues to be in the weight room during season. When you have the position of quarterback, it is still listed as a football player. So there are times when Shedeur is running the ball that you and I and the fans may be screaming slide, and he's trying to get the yards because he's a football player. I'm not condoning it. I'm just explaining it. And so he understands that even when there's good protection in the pocket, that protection only lasts so long, and if he holds the ball a little longer and gets it off, he's going to still, if nothing else, get pushed to the ground. And I think it was Jake from DMVR that asked him at this pass presser, how he was feeling. He was like, man, it hurts, but I'm good. It's football players. Saturday night, I'll be out tomorrow on Monday, because that's just the nature of the game. And I would say that compared to how he was feeling most Saturday nights last year, he probably feels damn great. Hey, your man Ramos came back with a reply for you on the super chat.
Let's see.
He said, don't come for him, Tyler.
BBL Tolly, I'm on parental leave with my baby girl. That's why the budget was cut. I understand. I understand. Look, you didn't have to take the bait. That was just a little like they do on defense, Neely. That was just a little eye candy to get you to move, move somewhere. But you didn't have to take the bait. You got to work on your pre-snap read there.
Oh yeah, you do. You got to stay disciplined because more times than not, facing a team like UCF, particularly, the ball is going opposite of motion. Don't chase the motion.
And don't chase the super chat, but we appreciate it.
Absolutely appreciate it because me and you got to have lunch after this. Like
I know that's right.
We doing this show hungry, man.
I'm gonna go to QT and get me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and not the one with the jelly, the one with the honey and the peanut butter, because it's almost like the honey is like a lighter version of the peanut butter, because I'm partial to the peanut butter. So.
It's Don Duncan, you're exactly right. He put 5 on it. He said, Tyler, take this. Go get your peanut butter sandwich and get up off me.
Hambage, Hambbage. I think that's Hambage. Digging those couch cushions and hit the like while you're at it. Rewind is must-see Monday.
792. 792 watching live. And, of course, that's going to be up on the replay as well.
Yeah.
Tolly Carr and Neely live on Monday. Hey, man, it's just what a great way to start the work week.
Neely, I'm going to do something real quick, and I want to do it within 30 seconds because, we do the if I can get it to paste. Oh, crap. I can't do it. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Before we log off, I'm going to go in and paste. There's a fundraiser. My school, I graduated from Winston-Salem State University. Yeah. Look, at the HBCU level, especially the D2 level, the struggle can be real. So the volleyball team is trying to raise money because they don't have enough in the budget to feed the girls after every single game. If you're a big D1 fan, Power 4 or Colorado, that sounds like crazy talk. All right, but that's what a lot of student athletes at HBCUs and even smaller schools go through. So the head coach has got a little fundraiser. I'm going to drop the link in there, Neely. They're just trying to raise $800 to feed the kids. So if everybody on this chat gave $1, I think we could do that thing, man. So,
man, if they're trying to raise 800, you can go ahead and make that 700. I'm gonna put 100 on it because I don't miss no meals, and I don't want the volleyball team to miss one either. So I got 100 coming on it.
All right, I'm trying to get there it is, the paste right there. I got it. All right, it's gonna show up as HBCU game day in the link because that's what account I'm on. But I just dropped it in there. It's in the chat. If you could, it's my alma mater. I'll put some money on it as well. I did a fundraiser a couple of years ago with the girls basketball team to make sure they had some food during Christmas break. So, guys, I'd appreciate it. If you show some love for your boy, I try to entertain you here every week. That's where I got my education from. So we'll just call that even Steven right there. All right, Neely. Confidence level going in. Give it to us before we get out of here. We've heard about the weather. We know it's going to be hot. We know it's going to be travel. We know it's a good team. We know it's Gus Malzahn. The Neely confidence level sitting here on a Monday afternoon.
Confidence level is high, but it's not a misplaced confidence. I've seen the work from this summer, seen the work at fall camp, and seen the work and progression this season, that has us where we are 1-0 in conference. So my confidence is high. I do got to tell everybody out there that I have to make a stop before going to Florida. We'll be going to New York City tomorrow to the Apollo Theater, where Smack Entertainment and Amazon are putting on the premiere, their documentary they're doing on the black quarterback and the history of the black quarterback in the NFL. So it's going to be a host of former NFL quarterbacks there on the panel, and going to have a great discussion and review the film that's dropping. I think it drops on the later on this week, but the premieres of the Apollo Theater tomorrow. So we're going to go check that out, get some good interviews and content with some of the folks that are there. Then we're going to make our way down to Florida to get this W over UCF, no matter what the weather or the humidity say.
Always working. Neely, always working. The run game, do you think even more will be needed, or was the dose that we got against Baylor, will that be enough?
I think it's more than enough. It's beyond adequate, but I also think it's situational. You're just going to sit there with the guys up top in the booth, whether it's Coach Michael Pollock or Brett Bartolone up there in the booth, talking down to the sideline to Pat Shermer, what they're seeing lined up in the box where the safety's coming down to and how far, and that's going to predicate what's called or not. And also, Shador has the opportunity to make those changes as well based on what he sees. And so, you get to talk to the quarterback up until 15 seconds before the snap count. So one of the things you see in college football this year, a lot of, you don't see the defense start moving until there's about 15 seconds left because they're trying to throw the quarterback off, show him one thing, wait till that headset goes off, and then show him something else. But the work that Shador puts in on film time, now having iPads on the sidelines that you can look at plays instantly coming off the field, I think that just skews even more things to his favor with his arm talent and the speed of the receiver. So run game will be there in Florida. I'm not looking for a percentage of 50-50 or 60-40. I'm just looking forward to taking advantage of when those run opportunities emerge. And Michael Welch can do that.
Did I see some design runs from Shador a couple of times, or did he just saw green grass and was like, let me just go ahead and take this right here?
It's a little of both. It's a little of both. You're going to go toward the green grass and just make sure you slide. Those are the design ones. But when plays break down and linebackers lose their discipline and go for the eye candy, you got to go to the middle of the grass. A lot of times, what Shador may be waiting on is a receiver as he's scrambling to come back to work their way back to him to the green grass. And then if they don't, he's going to go for it himself.
I liked it. I mean, I thought it was effective, and I didn't view it as, oh, he's got happy feet. It seemed like the right read, if you will, Neely.
Yeah, absolutely it was. I mean, it damn worked for Baylor when they did it.
More than once. More than one. I forgot who I was listening to, but they were like, the Baylor quarterback was like, let me just drop back, look at a receiver, make you think I'm thinking about this receiver, and then take off running.
Then he gone. What he was waiting on was for a linebacker to move. And once a linebacker moved to follow a tight end or a running back out to the flat, well, middle of the field is wide open. Here I go.
Yeah, God, we got. Coach Reed is so busy. We're always trying to get all of us together. Is like now that's a miracle every week, even though we've done it more than once, because we are some busy brothers. We could talk about the nuances of that game. This will be my overtime flashback, but I like the two backs and the movement and just the way that opened up things early. I know you just can't do it over and over, but I felt like Neely there was some added nuance to the play calling just watching on Saturday.
Yeah, there was, and one of the things we got to keep in mind, and I've said it, and I'm going to keep saying it. With this quarterback and this prolific wide receiving room, you have to keep in mind that when you add a running back in or add a tight end, you're dropping a receiver off. So who do you want to drop off? You want to drop off Jimmy Horn? You want to drop off Wester? You want Shepard not to go out there? God forbid you want Travis not to go out there. We just have to keep in mind that this is 11 on 11. And so schematically, whereas you want to change some things up and show some different looks, in showing that different look, you may be taking one of your best players off the field.
Yeah, and how much fun, Neely, do you think Pat Shurmur is having this year?
I think he's having a lot of fun because he's got a lot of talent. And when you got a lot of talent, you got some things to choose from. But to give you the gray hair like is in my beard is when you're trying to, screw a screw with a butter knife, which we all had to do growing up in Winston-Salem or Raleigh or West Jackson.
Why are you naming all my cities, man?
You got to make a tool do what it do, even when you don't have the right tool. But I think with this team, he's got the right tools for the job. That's got to be fun.
All right, Neil, I'm trying to get the link right. People are saying I didn't post it. I'm trying to post it. Isn't that just like me to come up here and ask for money and then I can't get the link right?
Well, at least the lights didn't go out.
We're working on it. How serious is this hurricane? I honestly have not been following it, but I see people seem to be concerned talking about this hurricane.
I saw the tracks of it, but they really weren't going through quote unquote, Florida as much as it was the panhandle part of Florida versus the game part in Alabama and Georgia. So we'll see. I'm gonna check it again when I get off of here. But everyone is saying that there's going to be some weather, so we'll see.
All right, Neely. It's been a lot of fun, man. Tell us about, and we'll let you get out of here. Tell us about the locker room after that win.
Man, just electric. You know, Coach Prime gave a very passionate speech. If you look on the Pregame Show Network page, there's a link called In His Own Words, where we take all of the speeches leading up to the game in huddles that Coach Prime spoke in and put them all together. And so you can just watch all his words right there. But it was, and then shout out to Pastor Dewey Smith out of Atlanta, who's the team chaplain, gave excellent words as well. You know, that this is just one of those games where, you know, you just know that God had your back, man, because this win came out of nowhere when it looked like all was lost. But that's what work and belief and faith and believing in yourself and trusting your work gets you. So they were never out of it. But I do got to say thanks for Baylor for missing that field goal.
Yes, and more yes. All right, guys, here's what I'm going to do. Thank you so much for showing interest in making the donation. I'm trying to do it from my phone sitting here. So here's what I'm going to do. me and Neely are wrapping up here. I'm going to just leave the stream up, and I'm going to run in the other room, and I'm going to paste it from a desktop, which I think is a lot easier. And I think part of the thing is there's like too many characters on my phone, or I'm just stupid, or I'm just hungry, or something. So you guys love to stay on the chat and talk with each other.
Oh, they do that. I love when they get at each other. We got a full blown community. 718 still here, so I believe they will wait patiently on you, Tolly, to go to the laptop and put the link.
I'm going to do that. And Neely, I want you to wait patiently because I need to do some other things with you outside of this stream. That'll take us like 10 minutes. So Neely, just take a coffee break, get a Snickers, mute your microphone so we don't hear you devouring the candy bar. And so we're going to do that, folks. So let me make sure that I can hit all of my buttons here. I think I want to hit that. There we go. All right. Now you don't see me get up from my chair. It's been a lot of fun. I'm going to add that link to the chat for the donation for the Winston-Salem State volleyball team. I appreciate you guys. Talk amongst yourselves for about a minute or two. Neely, hold tight. And we'll have some more fun in a minute. You've been watching the Pregame Show Rewind right here on the Pregame Show Network.
Yay, yay.